Everyone's talking about we need more properties. We need more properties out there for tenants. We need more properties out there for people to live in. But then who are going to buy these properties? It's going to be these same investors that everyone is chastising. And now they do buy these properties. They do invest in these properties. And we're making it more difficult for them. So what are they going to do? They're going to sell. But who are they going to sell it to? Who's going to buy these properties right now? It's going to be other investors. So the reality is it's just a cycle anyway. Cost of living crisis. What really pisses me off about the way this language, the narrative is framed, is they're making it sound as if people choosing to heat their homes and eat is a natural decision. It's a natural choice for people to make because there is no money to support. Yet you've got all of these massive conglomerates. Now look, I'm a capitalist myself. That's not the problem. I'm not talking about people not making profits. But the reality is, what these people are saying, these people are announcing, these energy providers are announcing that we have made more profits than ever before. But yet our prices are going up. How is that correlative? How's the government not saying, okay, hang on, you're making all these profits, people are suffering, we need to reduce these prices, not keep increasing them. Yet they're signing off on these energy companies increasing the prices. But the reality is, here in the UK, we think this is normal. We accept this stuff. People in France aren't accepting this stuff. People in France hit the streets and said, nah, this ain't happening. And guess what? The government reversed it. So all of this energy that we have in the UK where everyone is really reserved, no one wants to talk about how they really feel, this is the reason why people are suffering right now. People need to be screaming and shouting about this nonsense. We have been supporting this war in Ukraine now. How much? Billions of pounds. Now look, I know what's happening out there. It's not great. I know people need support. But the point I'm trying to make is, whenever there are wars, we tend to find the money to fight these wars. But when there's war in our households and families, people are starving, people are hungry. All of a sudden, we can't find this money to do these things. So where does this money come from when it's things that, we feel are gonna push our international agenda? But when it comes to actually, the national agenda, people suffering, people hungry, all of a sudden, we can't find the money. How does that make any sense to me? That's the thing that pisses me off about this whole cost of living crisis and the narrative, the way it's spun. Not to talk about landlords and investors on property, because this is my field. The way this is affecting landlords right now is absolutely incredible, but also tenants as well. Because here's the thing. At the same time that we've got a cost of living crisis, interest rates are skyrocketing. Now, that's not anyone's fault, because guess what? We've been pumping money into the economy for all of these years, which obviously doesn't make sense because it's an inflation, it's a false reality. And what's happened is everyone is spending money like they've got money, but they haven't got the money. This is just money. This is stimulus. This is money that the government is giving out for free. And as a result of that, everything's become inflated. People are buying property that they can't really afford, driving the prices of property up. And now we've got to a position where we've got inflation. We have got inflation. And to curb the inflation, the government now has to increase the interest rates. But here's how it comes back to affect people and how it comes back to talk about this cost of living crisis. Because when you're raising the inflation, that means the amount of money that landlords are borrowing has not increased. How much it's costing landlords to borrow that money has not increased. So guess what? They have to increase their rents. But hang on, we've also got a cost of living crisis. So how are these people who are already suffering, who are not making enough money already, when they go to Sainsbury's, they go to Tesco, everything is costing them more money. And now the landlords are saying, hey, we also need more money. Where are they going to get this money from? This is how you start getting homelessness, people who can't actually afford to live anymore. This is the issue that we're having right now. And people all of a sudden, obviously we're going to blame landlords, right? Why are you increasing your rent? What you got to understand is landlords are making an investment. It's really, really funny to me. Even my sister's one of those that called me, oh, these landlords, and I'm trying to find a property, I can't get property. Landlords are making all of these profits, and why are they still trying to increase prices? What people really need to understand is landlords are not making that much money. I know it's going to sound crazy to you if you're knowing property. Landlords typically on a property, on average across the UK, £200-300 a month. Are you really going to begrudge a man or a woman of making £200-300 profit a month from an investment that they put tens of thousands of pounds into? Can you really begrudge them of that? And then can you begrudge them when the government are making it more difficult, more expensive for them to be landlords? So now they're like, well, I made this investment, now it's costing me money, right? The interests have just gone up, so my mortgage payments, it's not enough anymore. Like the rent ain't covering my mortgage payments anymore. So now I have to dip into my own pocket to cover the mortgage. This isn't worth it for me anymore. So what am I going to do? Now the government are going to blame landlords, but the reality is Everyone's talking about we need more properties. We need more properties out there for tenants. We need more properties out there for people to live in. But then who are going to buy these properties? It's going to be these same investors that everyone is chastising. And now they do buy these properties, they do invest in these properties, and we're making it more difficult for them. So what are they going to do? They're going to sell. And who are they going to sell it to? Who's going to buy these properties right now? It's going to be other investors. So the reality is it's just a cycle anyway. Other investors are going to buy it for cheaper, which is going to not push more people at the market because they've come into the market, they've tried to invest, and they've lost money on the investment. So they don't want to come back in. We're also not building enough homes. So there isn't enough property out there for people to just go and rent anyway. But the people who have been buying properties that people can rent, we're making them the scapegoat. So they're saying, okay, you know what? We're out of this as well. So what does that then mean? It means more people who need to rent properties now no longer have properties to live in themselves. So what's going to happen? This is the issue that we're having. So when we're talking about cost of living crisis, it really comes back to government. Like, we are investing in these people. We're paying our taxes. The decisions that they make are affecting everyone. Now, it's all about narrative. So they can spin whatever narratives they want. They can make landlords and property investors the bad guys. But the reality is they are the ones putting these policies in place that's making people make decisions. Just think about people who maybe you don't know anyone who's a property investor, but I'm a normal guy. It wasn't too long ago that I was homeless myself. So I understand the social issues. I'm a massive advocate for it. I want to help people move up the social ladder. So when they're trying to spin all this narrative, like all of these landlords, most landlords that I know are normal people like you and me. That's the thing about it. Normal people like you and me, they've made a bit of money, or they want to invest. It's never like they're rich, but they just want to invest, get the money working for them. They want to put their families in a position that they never have to experience the things that they had to experience when they were growing up. Like, how can you knock someone for that? And this person is making like £200-300 a month profit. Are you like £200-300 a month profit? You're really going to begrudge a man or woman for making that amount of money from investing tens of thousands of pounds? These are the problems that we're having, and we need to be taking them back to the government. Not fighting amongst each other. This is an age-old, Sun Tzu kind of tactic. Divide and conquer. That's what they're doing. So when they're putting out this narrative, talking about landlords, talking about, now we need to cut the profits and we need to do this. What do you really feel that they don't understand that that the public are going to gravitate towards that message? Because it's easy to find a scapegoat. Let's forget about these people. Let's forget about what we could be doing and where we're putting our resources, and we're focusing on sending migrants and asylum seekers back to Rwanda instead of fixing the problems that we've got here. Even that is just a narrative just to distract people. It's like, bro, why are we even talking about this? The amount of people coming into this country, is it really that much? This isn't spoken to death now. Let's think about it. Migrants, immigrants coming into this country are a positive contribution, net positive in terms of actual capital, money in the bank. So even if we're looking at this from an economic standpoint, it's a net capital to the country. So what's this nonsense we're talking about? They're focusing on all of this nonsense so that we don't worry and ask them questions about what is happening here. Why are we hungry? Why is it that in the UK today, people who are working, so you can't even say, these people, they don't want jobs, they want to be on benefits, all that narrative that they used to spin back in the day. They just want to be on benefits. They can't even run that one anymore because people who are working are now going to food banks. Make that make sense to me. So you're working, you've got a full-time job, and you're still going to food bank because after all of those hours you put in, you come back, after all your expenses, there's still not enough money in the kitty for you to look after yourself and your family, which is the reason why you go to work in the first place. And people are still having to go to food banks here in the UK. What's going on with that? That's got nothing to do with migrants, right? That's got nothing to do with you and me. It's to do with policies. It's a decision that these people make. Again, when we're talking about where's the money coming from, you will remember when Theresa May was talking about there's no magic money tree, and then all of a sudden we saw that tree shaking real strong, and money was just falling off that tree when it's aligned with their interest. So we need to start thinking. Let's stop fighting amongst each other. Let's do some critical analysis, do research. When I'm speaking to my mentees in property, I always say you can never be lazy in research. Research is the core of everything. If you hear a government official saying something, go and do your research about it. Don't listen to their narrative because let's be real. There's been something that you've been passionate about and you've heard them talk about. You thought that's nonsense. That doesn't make sense. Guess what? Because you've got knowledge around that topic. But you think they're not doing the same for other topics that you might not be as interested in. Maybe because you agree with that narrative. Maybe, not that you agree with it, but you're like, actually, you know what? I'm feeling some pain. I don't know why I'm feeling that pain, but someone has just justified the reason why I'm feeling that pain, so I'm just going to go with it. But if the government has ever said something that you do not agree with, if they've ever said something that you do not agree with, then maybe when you hear them say something else, even though it sounds good, it sounds tasty, maybe you should think, hang on, maybe they're talking nonsense in this situation as well.